Hey guys, Jonathan here, and today Marvel really surprised us with a really long live stream announcing all of the main returning cast for Avengers Doomsday. Now, we got X-Men reveals, Thunderbolts reveals, and so much more, and every time a new character got revealed or returning actor, I made them as a custom minifigure and talked about my thoughts about them returning. So in real time, we'll go through this. I'll show you how to build all these people and talk about what role I think they might play in the film. Then at the end, I'll wrap it all up and give you my predictions for the movie now that we've seen everything we've seen. So with that being said, let's get into it. So the first reveal, of course, was Chris Hemsworth. Of course, he'll be coming back as Thor, which really was not much of a surprise, to be completely honest. We do need some of those original 6 Avengers to return, and of course, himself, Hawkeye, and Hulk are really the only 3 of the original 6 that could return without being a variant or dying. Of course, we don't really know what he's going to look like in this film, but I do think that the minifig we got from Thor Love and Thunder is definitely a cool representation, and of course, because of toy sales, he'll definitely get a new outfit, but something kind of regal and color popping like this would definitely be really cool, so I'll be excited to see what he looks like, but Chris Hemsworth, definitely not a big surprise. Okay, so the second casting announcement was Vanessa Kirby, who of course we know will be playing Sue Storm in Fantastic Four First Steps. This was not a huge surprise because, of course, they're setting up Fantastic Four. They're definitely going to show up in the movie. But it is interesting that they led with her instead of, Pedro Pascal being Reed Richards and everything like that. So that definitely was interesting. And to build the figure, of course, I used the same method I used from before, which is where I took some nail polish remover to the torso from the bicycle character from the CMF series to erase the printing off the top. Then, of course, the see-through arms from Electro from Spider-Man, a white belt that's come in several places like Stormtrooper, Luke Skywalker, the legs from Frozone from The Incredibles from the Disney CMF series 2, just the regular Black Widow head, and some blonde hair to finish the look. Anthony Mackie was announced up next, and of course, with him being Captain America, it should be absolutely no surprise he's returning. My prediction is that after where we saw Brave New World leave off, Anthony Mackie's Cap will be reassembling the Sacred Timeline Earth Avengers, so it's definitely going to be cool to see who he picks for the team. Obviously, Thor will be there as an Avenger, but with who's coming up next in the casting announcement, I kind of feel like we could see some different factions of teams. I'll explain that as we get to our next casting announcement, but of course, this is the actual Brave New World Captain America with no updates, except for adding the shield from the CMF Series 1 from Marvel so that it's as accurate as possible to what we see in the films. So after Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan was announced next. Not a huge surprise considering he is one of the most popular characters in the MCU right now, but the last place we'll see him before this film, of course, is the Thunderbolts. And we get another reveal a little bit later in this video that I think we'll have to circle back to and address when we get to that character. But for that reason, I kind of think the Thunderbolts will be their own team that will be working alongside the Avengers rather than being brought into the Avengers as a whole. So again, we're just going off casting speculation at this point, but I feel like they're doing all this work to build up the Thunderbolts, and they're not just going to go ahead and fold them into the Avengers, because it could be its own sub-theme or sub-franchise in the MCU beyond all of this. That being said, the minifigure used here is the actual Winter Soldier minifig from the Marvel CMF Series 1 with no additional upgrades. Letitia Wright was announced next, and this really wasn't a big surprise to me either, considering where Black Panther Wakanda left off. She is our current MCU Black Panther, so yeah, I think that works great. Of course, it will be exciting to see her back and see how Wakanda and herself have grown in the Black Panther role since we last saw her, which was, 3 years ago now? Well, I guess it'll be 4 years ago by the time the movie comes out, so that'll be crazy. Definitely excited to see that, and yeah, I just used the Black Panther Wakanda Forever version of Shuri's Black Panther. There are some upgrades that could be made, but for the simplicity and getting this video out quick, we'll just go ahead and leave it as is for now. Paul Rudd was announced next, which was really cool. Of course, Ant-Man is my favorite Sacred Timeline superhero in the MCU. Of course, if we're going throughout the entire multiverse, it's going to be Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. But Of course, getting a confirmation that Ant-Man is back is really awesome. I really hope they don't kill him in this movie. I really, really hope. I don't want him to die. I want Ant-Man movies to go on forever. But the minifig I used here uses the 2019 Avengers Endgame Ant-Man helmet and the torso and legs from the 2018 Ant-Man and the Wasp minifigure with these great printed arms with red on the side from the Surfer character from the CMF series. Really dig this figure. Love the way it turned out. Been using it for years, and of course it's what we're going to use here. Now, I did mention we got another Thunderbolts character reveal, and with that, it was Wyatt Russell, who, of course, is the U.S. agent, aka John Walker. This custom was really fun to make because it uses that new Winter Soldier torso from the Civil War airport battle. That set does not have a very accurate representation of Winter Soldier from that movie, but this torso works out really well for John Walker. In fact, the head underneath works pretty well for John Walker too, especially when we put this helmet on, which is the Captain America helmet that's been completely blacked out. That way it matches the suit more. I just gave him a regular shield with no printing on it. There are the rounded shields with no printing, but I kind of like this one for whatever reason. And then, of course, he's got black hands, black arms, and black legs. Now, what I was saying is, the fact that we got Sebastian Stan and Wyatt Russell announced, which are two of the key players in the Thunderbolts, is what's making me think the Thunderbolts will kind of be their own team operating, doing their own thing, while the Avengers are doing their own thing. I think they're going to be teamed up, but think about Infinity War, how, like, the Guardians were doing their thing, and then they teamed up with the Avengers. I think it's going to be more like that than anything. The next casting announcement was the first one that genuinely surprised me, and that was Tenoch Huerta. I hope I'm getting his pronunciation right, but of course, we know and love him as Namor from Black Panther Wakanda Forever. He was such a cool villain in that movie, and where the movie left off, I definitely think that the heroes will benefit from having Namor on their side. Now, if we know comic book lore, we know that, Namor has a thing for the Invisible Woman, so, we've got to wonder if that will come into play or if they'll start setting up that storyline for future Fantastic Four installments. That's kind of interesting, but having the full power of Atlantis to fight Doctor Doom is definitely going to be a big help to the team. And to build this figure, I used the hair, torso, and legs from the official Namor figure from Black Panther Wakanda Forever, with these printed arms from Tarantula, of course, from the Lego Batman movie, and the head actually comes from Star Wars The Force Awakens. It comes from this character that came in the Millennium Falcon. I'm blanking on his name right now, but there will be someone in the comments that reminds us all, and they are the MVP of the day. After that, we got a confirmation for Ebon Moss-Backrack, who of course is playing the Thing, after the announcement of Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm being in this movie. I don't think it's any surprise that the Thing got announced, so yeah, I mean, not really much to say that I didn't already say about the Fantastic Four before, but to build this figure, I used the long blue arms from the Avatar Way of Water characters with that same torso from Sue Storm that I mentioned, using the method to get the printing off there, the white belt, all the same, except in this case, I used the head from one of the D&D characters with orange hands, and then, of course, 1x1 studs for him to stand on. That way, when you put him next to a regular minifig, he is slightly taller. I really don't know how else you could make a minifig at this scale bigger, but regardless, I do think it turned out pretty good, all things considered. Next up, we got Simu Liu coming back as Shang-Chi. I just rewatched this movie recently and really thought it held up well. I liked it even more than I remembered liking it back in the day, which was quite a lot. So definitely exciting to see him back. So for this figure, I used the dual molded arms from CMF Robin from the Lego Batman movie. They've come in other places like Hyperion and things like that. The torso, head, and hair are all from the official Shang-Chi minifig. And of course, these legs come from the Lego Ninjago movie Kai. I think they work really well. To be honest with you, they're not actually all that accurate to what we see in the Shang-Chi movie, but I do think they look good. So it's one of those rare cases where something that's technically inaccurate does look really good. But yeah, excited to see him back. Crazy that it'll have been, 5 years since Shang-Chi was in the MCU. Like, bro, it took half a decade to get him back in another MCU project, but it's going to be really awesome, and I really can't wait to see where they go with the character. Florence Pugh being announced as back was up next, and of course she'll be Yelena Belova, who we'll have last seen in Thunderbolts. So this just kind of adds credence to the theory that The Thunderbolts will be their own thing. Again, that's my theory. That's what I'm sticking to. But to build her as a custom minifigure, I actually didn't use any parts from the official Yelena, which might be good if you don't have that figure, because it's getting pretty desirable now. The torso and legs come from one of the Imperial Gunner characters from Star Wars, with the printed arms from the 2020 version of Black Widow, so you get the stingers on there. Then the head comes from, it's either Captain Carter or Wonder Woman. I can't remember off the top of my head. And I used the hair from Lloyd from the Lego Ninjago movie. Now, Kelsey Grammer coming back as Beast is perhaps the biggest surprise up to this point. And man, I just loved him as Beast. I think he really, really encapsulates the character well. And, you know, with Nicholas Hoult being Lex Luthor over in the DC universe, I do think if they had to bring back one of the versions of Beast, Kelsey Grammer makes sense. And, of course, we saw him in the post-credits scene of The Marvels, where Photon ended up. So it does make sense that we could kind of start to tie all that together. I wonder if it's going to be Earth 838 that Photon ended up in. We just don't know based off of that final scene of The Marvels. But Kelsey Grammer being back is great. We're not exactly sure how his Beast is going to look, so to represent him here, I just used the Beast from the Lego Marvel CMF Series 2. So Lewis Pullman is announced after that. Of course, he's Sentry in Thunderbolts, which is interesting because, like, I don't know, this almost kind of spoils Thunderbolts. Like, not that I thought they would kill Sentry, but now we know everybody that survives. It's kind of like a reverse. Anyways, Sentry here, super powerful in the MCU if he's anything like his comic counterpart, so he'll definitely be a valuable member to the team. Probably ends up joining the Thunderbolts at the end of everything, but the custom minifigure here uses one of these heads from the Yoda Chronicles from Star Wars. The torso actually comes from Luke Cage Power Man from Ultimate Spider-Man, I think 2013 or so. Then he's got matching arms, tan hands, a black belt, and matching legs with a dark blue cape. Of course, we're not 100% sure what he's going to look like on screen, so for this, I actually used my comics custom, and I checked it against the Funko Pop that's been revealed, and it's decently accurate, though the Funko Pop is more yellow and blue than yellow and black. But again, we just have to wait and see what he looks like in Thunderbolts, let alone what he'll end up looking like in Doomsday. Alright, the next reveal is Danny Ramirez back as Falcon since Brave New World. He was great. I enjoy his character a lot. I think that he brings a lot of levity, but I mean, there's really not much to say, especially in terms of the Lego minifig, because I kept it exactly as is. It's just like, oh, cool, Falcon's back. Alright, on to the next one. Unsurprisingly, Joseph Quinn will be returning as the Human Torch. At this point, I'm not really sure what I can say about the Fantastic Four returning other than they're returning. So, to make the custom figure, the head and legs come from Energy Kai from Ninjago, and the flame headpiece and torso come from Flama from Nexo. So as it rolls on, Red Guardian actually does surprise me a lot with David Harbour returning, because I thought for sure he was going to die in Thunderbolts, you know, kind of being like the father of the team, making a sacrifice, everybody's sad to lose the funny guy, like, it just seems like it makes so much sense for him to get killed in that movie, but apparently he's living on, and he'll be in Doomsday. So that being said, of course, to build this figure, I just used the regular version from the Black Widow set from 2020, the Comic-Con set, that is. He's quite a rare minifig these days, but maybe he'll come in a Doomsday set, so a new version will be better and more accurate. But at this point, we don't really know what he'll be wearing, so gotta wait till then. Alright, M'Baku was the next reveal, with Winston Duke returning. Now, we've only ever got one minifig of him from Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I upgraded him, of course, by adding the piece here around his neck that was on Kraven the Hunter back in the day. It's been used as a bird nest before too, but that's a cool piece. And the legs from Tasu Leech. Now the interesting thing is, this is now technically our third returning character from Black Panther Wakanda Forever, so I wonder how much of the movie could take place in Wakanda. Maybe the Avengers will have their base of operations out of there. At this point it's difficult to say, but with so many characters returning from that movie, it's getting good. Hannah John Kamen is returning as Ghost. Now, of course, she debuted in Ant-Man and the Wasp. We'll see her again in Thunderbolts, and apparently she survives because she's now in Avengers Doomsday, which is pretty wild. The Ghost minifig from way back in the day is pretty awesome. I have made some upgrades over the years with, like, adding printed legs and things like that, but we'll just keep it simple since we don't really know what she'll be wearing in Doomsday. And, yeah, really, really cool. But as a huge Ant-Man franchise fan, of course, you know I love Ant-Man. It's actually crazy to think about the fact that he'll be teaming up with Ghost now. I mean, as I've been saying throughout the video, she'll probably be, on the Thunderbolt side, but they'll all work together. So it would be really cool to see her and Ant-Man like share a scene and, reconnect those dots from all those years ago. Let's see, that movie came out in 2018. This will come out in 2026, so it'll be 8 years since they've seen each other in universe. Really excited about that. So Tom Hiddleston is back, of course, as Loki, which is super, super exciting. And, the last time we saw him, he's now the god of stories, looking over the multiverse. So I'm a little afraid that Doctor Doom is going to have to go after him to kill him. I think it could be something like the Secret Wars comic, where Doctor Doom absorbs the power of the Beyonder. Maybe they do that, but with Loki as the god of stories instead, allowing Doom to rewrite reality for Secret Wars. Tough to say, but definitely really cool. And to build the version of Loki I have here, I'm just kind of speculating what he might look like. At the end of the Loki series finale, he's just in like green robes, but this time around I made him a little bit more regal using that 2020 Loki torso with the CMF Loki head and hair, and of course a green. Oh my god, when that X-Men theme started up and we got the Patrick Stewart reveal, no way. Well, they played the X-Men 97 theme, which really makes me think that they're gonna lean into that Earth 838 version of the character. I mean, not the one that died, actually, but, the yellow hover chair, the green suit. I think they're going to go all out. I mean, just think about the fact that Patrick Stewart, as Professor X, will be in a movie with, Chris Hemsworth as Thor, Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, Kevin Feige. Thank you. You are making all of our Marvel dreams come true with this movie. Now, that being said, I used the green torso here from Mr. Burns from The Simpsons, Old Man Han Solo's head, and the yellow hover chair build from the X-Men Mansion. Alright guys, so obviously a lot of these reveals are really cool, really epic, but I actually legitimately shed a single tear of joy when Ian McKellen was announced. Holy crap, Batman, that was awesome. Magneto is back. Oh my god, I can't believe it. But to make the custom Magneto, of course, we have no idea what it'll look like in the movie, but my version here uses the Ethan Hunt torso with black arms, gray hands, black legs, the helmet and purple cape from Magneto, and the old Ian McKellen head that was on Gandalf years ago, but of course it used to be used on Magneto quite a bit as well on those first two versions. So that's my version here, and of course I'll keep you guys updated as the movie gets closer and we know what he actually looks like. I cannot wait to dial in and make a perfect custom once we know. So quite possibly another one of the craziest reveals was Alan Cumming returning as Nightcrawler. I never would have guessed that if they brought back Nightcrawler, it would be the X2 version. I mean, oh my gosh, Kevin Feige, thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, we don't know what it looked like in the movie. I feel like it's just a pretty common theme with these last couple customs, but went ahead and used one of the Star Wars Imperial Officer torsos with dark blue hands, one of the tails from the Na'vi Avatar aliens. It's not the right color, but it's close enough for right now, with black pants, the head from Blue Beetle from DC with some regular black hair. So now they just got on a roll with announcing X-Men, and of course, Rebecca Romijn is back as Mystique. This is turning into more of an X-Men movie than Avengers movie at this point, but hey, I'm filming these as we go, so the reveals are still coming. I mean, gosh, could you imagine if this ends with, Chris Evans and... Well, we already know they're gonna say Downey Jr., but okay. Anyways, to build Mystique, the head is from Ayla Secura with just some old red hair. Sadly, not a lot of red or even orange hair options for Lego that would work here. But then, of course, the body comes from Hydro Man from the Spider-Man Far From Home set. Okay, so then James Marsden gets announced, obviously coming back as Cyclops, which is super, super exciting. But now it has me thinking, all right, you're bringing back all these original X-Men, and yeah, the movies are nostalgic, but they're not the best. There ain't no way Kevin Feige is shelling out all this money to bring back the original X-Men and not put them in their comic accurate costumes to some degree. Now, do I think James Marsden's suit will be this vibrant? Probably not, but I do think that he's going to finally get his moment in the sun to be the epic version of Cyclops that we all knew he could have been. Those movies just did him so dirty with his characterization and all that, and especially the way it ended for him. So I'm excited to see him back, and I do think we'll get some variation of the classic suit for him. Well, at this rate, with all the X-Men being announced and everything, it's really no surprise that Channing Tatum's Gambit is back. And now it's got me theorizing, well, okay, how do we get all of these X-Men from the old timeline back? And here's the theory that I am working on right now. What if this is from an alternate timeline that's exactly like the Hugh Jackman Wolverine's timeline, except in this timeline, you know, Hugh didn't go out to the bar and leave behind the mansion and everybody get killed, so Wolverine becomes protective of this alternate universe because it's like he can atone for, you know, having let everybody die in his universe, so now that puts him at odds with the Sacred Timeline Avengers and all that. Just a little theory I'm working on right now, but that being said, for Gambit here, with Channing Tatum coming back, we're just going to use the one from the X-Men mansion for now. Alright, so Pedro Pascal, no surprise at all. He's the last member of the Fantastic Four we needed to see. And then, of course, same torso, everything we've been talking about with the Mandalorian head, since it's the same actor, and the gray on the side's hair from Doctor Strange. So there we go. And finally, it all ended with Robert Downey Jr., aka Robert Doomey Jr., and since we literally saw him in a suit that looks exactly like this, we'll go ahead and use the Walt Disney torso with the Tony Stark head and hair combo. And with that, it brings us to a close, so let's wrap up this video and call it a day. Alright guys, well, that was a crazy stream today. Oh my gosh. Now here's what I'm thinking. You kind of heard me put my ideas in motion as things were getting revealed, but I'm thinking there's going to be something going on with Doom, and he's going to try to take Loki's power, which will cause an incursion, or perhaps incursions are happening and Doom tries to take Loki's power to stop them. Something of that nature, but of course we'll have the Fantastic Four universe as one universe. We'll have the MCU Sacred Timeline, which will be the Thunderbolts and, of course, the new Avengers team, and a third universe, which are the X-Men, many of which are returning from the Fox universe, so perhaps Wolverine in the Deadpool universe will want to protect the Fox X-Men universe to try and atone for, you know, everybody in his universe dying. Maybe the Deadpool universe is a slight variation where the X-Men are alive. You know, at this point, it's just too hard to say, but no doubt about it, we've got a ton of amazing characters coming up now, and I'm really, really excited. Of course, they're not going to tell us everybody that's in the movie. That would spoil all the cameos and all of the surprises along the way, but there's a lot of really crazy characters right here.